Hey, what's up, and welcome to this episode of EST, the podcast for established church leaders by established church leaders. My name is Josh.
My name is Sam, and I'm coming at you live.
Live feed.
Live
Um,
stream. That's
I
today's
mean,
episode.
but we are live. Well, we're not live. We'll be
No,
on
we're not.
YouTube. Yeah.
We're recorded.
Sometime we should do a live stream and then just like take live comments and questions. That'd be
Do
fun.
you not remember? We've done a live episode one time,
Mm-hmm.
way back in the day, several years ago with Micah Freeze. And
Mm-hmm.
I've totally forgotten how we did it. I don't even remember how we did it.
Well, there was a feature on the service we were using before that was built in. We're just not using that service anymore. So
Correct.
I don't know. I wonder if there's a link here or something, probably on your panel. But anyways, yeah, we're going to talk about live streaming here in just a minute and whether or not your church should be doing that, starting it, or killing it. I guess those are
Does
your
it
three
help or hurt?
options.
Yeah.
Does it help or
Is
hurt?
live streaming
Yeah.
good? Is it bad? Neutral? I don't know.
We're gonna figure it out. But first, let's talk to you about church teams.
Church teams. Yes. We love our sponsor, church teams.
Mm-hmm.
We are blessed to have them. You are blessed to hear about them. And I mean that because they do church management software better than anybody else. Church Team is the premier group for you, and they can help any size church. So whatever it is that you need, whether it's texting, like text to church, or giving modules, or attendance, they do it all. They can do check-in stuff. I mean, if it involves like a computer,
Right.
hey, they're the ones for you. They've got a good offer. Go to est.church, again, est.church, and check out their offer for a free trial. And of course, you just need to call them, tell them we sent you, please. And in doing so, they'll hook you up with a good deal. They got great prices. Everything they do is good. It's just quality all the way around. So go to est.church, check out the offer from Church Teams, and thank you, Boyd and crew, for sponsoring today's episode.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Live stream. I've got some very particular perspectives on this.
Well, obviously, this is something that is remnant or relic largely of COVID. Of course, it was around before that, but shortly after COVID shut down churches, everyone was doing it. And thanks to Life Church out of Edmond, Oklahoma, who provided a free service, made it really easy for people to use and to do. I think that was largely the catalyst. COVID and Life Church's generosity to provide those sort of resources. And so everybody has a live stream now. And I guess
Everyone
it's like
has a
that
podcast
Jurassic.
now too.
I know. We when we started this, it really wasn't that popular to have a podcast.
Listen, we were early because we were able to get the domain est.church.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess. I mean, we just jumped right on it. And it's kind of like that Jurassic Park quote, and I'm gonna mess it up, but it was pretty much like we were so worried about whether or not we could, we didn't ask whether or not we should. And I think during the shutdowns, everyone needed some sort of like connection point. But the question at this point is live stream helpful or hurting? And I guess we should draw a distinction here, particularly because of your view and what you guys do there at West B. So go ahead and start with that. You tell us what it is you guys do, and I'll show you that there's a distinction there.
Yeah, so we pre-produce our services, and we've always done that. And even during the pandemic, we made an intentional decision not to do any sort of live stream. We regathered pretty quickly. So had we wanted to do a live stream, we could have. And our people would have been generous to give us the resources to do it. The only time we did a live stream was our Wednesday night services. We did them on my back porch. And it was a lot of fun, but it was never meant to last. It was a very temporary thing. But our normal services were always pre-produced. And the reason behind that is because we did not want to set up a culture in the church where this was a replacement for worship. We always wanted our digital ministry to be a complement to what we do on site. Now, hear
Mm,
me out. I'm a big fan of digital ministry. Goodness, I've got a podcast. I run Church Answers is a church digital resource company. So I'm all for using new technology to do church better. So the way I like to say it is I think churches should have digital ministries. I don't think there is such a thing as a digital church, um,
mm.
or an
I
internet
agree.
church.
Yeah.
And I think most people's ecclesiology and theology is there. I think most people say, yeah, okay. But what do you do about a live stream?
Mm,
And for us, we want people. I hear it all the time. People say, "Hey, the pre-produced services are good. They're good, but man, it just makes me want to be at church." And I'm like, "Good. They're
mm.
doing their job. I don't want you to like the digital worship service so much that it replaces what we're trying to do
Yeah.
on site." Now, I don't have a problem with live stream. For a lot of churches, that's
Mhm.
the best way to go. I don't have a theological conviction. I don't even have a practical conviction here other than what's best for us and our culture at our church. So it's very specific to us. So I do want to be clear, if you have a live stream and you do it, hey, this you have the same philosophy that I do. You just happen to use a live stream instead of a pre-produced service. No problem there at all. But I
Mm.
do think that churches might be investing too much in a digital presence at the expense of the in-person experience.
Yeah, I wanted you to share that because one of the distinctions that I'm trying to build out from this is not the availability of your services online. That's not necessarily what we're talking about. In fact, I would argue that that may be the better alternative. What we're trying to talk about is this live stream, which I think for one element that it might be hurting is just the element of the pressure it takes to make sure that the live stream is funded and that it is equipped and that it is volunteer. It does take a whole nother set of things. And even from the idea of the mix, audio wise, you may wonder, why do some churches just sound so good when they're live streaming and our church just doesn't sound as good online as it does in the room? Well, because the churches where it sounds really good, they're doing two mixes. They're mixing it for the online or they're mixing it for the room. And those are not the same. And so that just takes a lot more equipment, a lot more money. So I think the other thing to keep in mind here is what's the audience that you're reaching? You've got a lot of onlookers. So that's there. And I'm not entirely convinced a lot of them are like, yeah, I'm just going to watch you for a little while and then I think I'll come and hang out with you. You've also got people who miss church for various reasons. They're traveling, they're sick, those sort of things. So for that reason, I think you want to make it somewhat available or somehow available. And yeah, I think that's largely it. And then you also have like pastor search committees that are watching your live stream as well. So that stuff happens. In fact, in my most recent move, one of the things that people talked about was how with live streams now, you no longer have to go and watch these preachers. You just watch them online a couple times. You get a good idea, and then you bring them in for a sermon. So um, here's the idea I'm kicking around, Sam. I think largely, I would argue, most cases it hurts. And I'm going to tell you why it hurts. When people are checking out your church, they'll go first to Google, so make sure that that's good. Then they'll go to your website. They may watch a little bit of your sermon or your live broadcast. Pre-recorded sermons is what they're watching, but it was produced live, okay, in front of a live video audience, right? So it's not the best quality, nor is it the best representation of who you are, nor does it sound well or good in the room or on their live production. So I'm actually kicking around this idea where there's a very public facing sneak peek into our church and it's produced. It sounds good. It gives clips and so there's like I don't know, a 30-second clip of me preaching. There is a little bit of the music that is mixed for the online presence. There's views of the campus, the children's ministry, small groups, all that sort of stuff is packaged in essentially a 2-minute sneak peek of, if you were to come visit, this is what you would experience, right? It's accurate to who we are, that sort of stuff. Then I want to kind of put our live stream behind a password or off of the main site. It's not really something that you want to. So if you do miss church, if you're on vacation or something like that, you can watch it. But that's not what those checking out our church is watching, because you just have to have massive resources. And we're well-resourced church, but we don't have the same level of resources to make those videos, especially when they're archived and people are looking back at them, just near the level of what it's like to be in the room. And so I'm constantly worried that people are watching those and never coming to the church, or checking out because of just the what's lost in translation. Then if we could just say, hey, here's a sneak peek, so come to the church, come here and see it. That's the group that I really think we're hurting. What do you say?
Yeah, uh, it's one of the reasons why we pre-produce our services and we don't do a live stream,
Mm,
because the amount of resources that can go into pre-production are far less than what you need to make a live stream good. And so
hmm
you're spending a ton of money less, and it's better. So
Yeah.
fewer dollars, better experience with a pre-produced service. I mean, you can literally, that's an overused word.
hmm
Literally, you can spend $1 million getting a live stream up and running, and it still isn't all that great.
Yeah.
You can spend 5 grand, 10 grand on like a studio and microphones and a camera and a backdrop, and which is what we did. We did it on a shoestring budget on our third floor education space. We just took a small classroom and made it a studio, did it on a shoestring budget, and it is far, far better than if we had poured $500,000 into resources for a live stream. So
hmm
um for that reason, we pre-produce services. There's other reason we pre-produce services. So we do it on Tuesday. So Tuesday before Sunday, we're pre-producing the services. Right after our staff meeting, I go and I preach in this little room. The other reason why we do that is it's a backstop for me. Now, I've got plenty of preachers in the church. If I get sick at like 5 a.m. Sunday morning, I could call on somebody and they could pull it off. But it would be outside of the series. It would be a little wonky and it wouldn't be great. And we have 3 services to cover. So, you might have to get 3 different preachers for 3 different services.
hmm
So for me, it's that once in every 5 year time when, whoops, I ain't going to make it, guys. They can just put the video on because it's already pre produced and it's queued up, ready to go just in case. That's
hmm
happened twice in like 8, 9 years. But boy, the times that we had to do it, it was so worth it because it was just like,
hmm
man, Sam's not sick. No problem, man. We got you covered. I won't get into, like, I can preach through just about anything except for the runs, right? The runs, or if I'm puking. I'll preach through anything
Yeah.
other than that. And let me tell you, there was one Sunday where I would have been running. I
You had to
would have
stay
been
home.
running. So
You had to stay home.
I
Yeah,
had to
I
stay.
think
I had to stay home.
I think eventually I'll probably at least bring it up. I mean, I just and it if you've ever watched a musical live on TV, like every now and then there'll be this big, it's going to be the Sound of Music live. I think at the anniversary of the Sound of Music, they did a live presentation of the Sound of Music,
I've never
and it was
seen
a
that movie.
musical. I have seen it. It's pretty good. But this was a stage production. So it wasn't a movie, obviously, because it was live, but it was a stage, like a musical theater. And it was horrible. And I like going to musical theater. I like musical movies, but there's just something about it because it's not made to translate that well. It's just you're supposed to be in the room. And what we're doing, if I had never seen a musical theater and that was all I ever saw, I would think, this is lame. This isn't that good. I don't like this. And so I would move on to the next thing. And so, what you're producing, most churches are producing live as the front image of their church, where people are investigating the church first, is a live production of a musical instead of there's one or two large churches down the road that are producing cinematic quality. And that's what you're competing with. So my argument is, what if there was just a video on the front page of your homepage, or somewhere available, maybe on the start here page, that you do produce, and you can do this like you're saying. Well, we don't have the equipment to do that. I've seen churches use wedding videographers. They have the equipment and they know how to do it. And so they come on a Sunday morning, they shoot the whole church. They know what they're doing. They're moving around. You tell the church, ignore those folks. And then they put together a pretty cool sneak peek. If you were to come and hang out with us, this is what it would look like on a Sunday morning. That would be I'm not trying to make it better than it is. I'm trying to make it accurate to what it is. And that would be more accurate than what you're producing. And we all know it. And it's one of those things that's like within the church, we all know that it's not the same, but we're okay with it because it's the best we've got, because we're sick or we're at the beach. But the guest, the person checking you out, they don't know that. And that's the impression that they're getting. And so I just struggle with, I really do think it's hurting more than it is helping. Now, as far as like the people who want to watch, yeah, put that behind a password, or put that in your Facebook group or something. Make that to where it's available to your membership. It's just not available to your maybe members.
Yeah, I've seen some really bad live streams though. I mean,
Yeah.
some really bad ones. So and I haven't seen many good ones. And the good ones are typically the churches that are, frankly, ginormous churches with ginormous budgets, and they
Right.
have the ability to just make things look good. Even if they're not
Mm-hmm.
good, they still make them look good. So I would encourage you, check your stats. Check, if you're doing a live stream and it's a lot of work and it's not all that great, how many people are really watching this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And by the way, YouTube views, like sometimes it'll count like a 3 or 4 second view as a view. So just like
Mm.
how many people are watching all the way through? YouTube can tell you that, Facebook can tell you that. And if it is just a small number of people, I mean, you might want to think about pivoting and doing pre-produced services, or like you said, a sneak peek. That's a lot of effort and time
Mm.
that goes into a live stream every week. Now you may come
Yeah.
out and say, you know what, it still is worth it. There's 15 people every week. They're homebound people, and they just love it. And I know who's watching, and we're going to keep doing it because we've got a small segment of our congregation that just wants to tune in. Hey, that's fine. At least it's strategic, right? At least you're making a strategic decision to do something. But I bet there's a lot of churches out there that started doing this during the pandemic. They got that initial jolt of views because everybody was doing it and everybody was watching. At Church Answers, we've done just a little bit of anecdotal research, and we're finding that views are down 90 to 95% at most
Yeah.
churches. I mean, it's just off from the pandemic peak. So you set all this stuff up. People were watching then, nobody's watching now, but you're still doing the same thing. So, churches don't. This is a case of, why are you doing it? Well, it's what we've always done.
Mm.
It kind of started during the pandemic,
We
and
got there fast.
we just
Yeah.
kept doing it. It's like, okay, the church has been through this before. Like, well, this is what we've
Yeah.
always done. Now it's live streams. Why do you do that? It's just what we've always done. Yeah, look at
Yeah.
your
And,
views.
and that's what I'm saying is, for the 15 homebound or whatever like that, still do a live feed, but you're more now talking like that's back to a camcorder on a tripod, and it's just feeding it all, and you can tell them this is the link
Did you
that you
really say
need.
camcorder?
I know. I'm an older millennial. I'm a geriatric millennial.
There's a few Gen Z people tuning in. This gonna be like, what is he talking about? A camcorder?
Yeah.
What?
Okay. So
What
put
that
your
mean?
iPhone on a tripod and then just feed it out. And that's all you need for that group. That group, I'm not saying don't do a live feed. I'm just saying don't make the live feed like this quasi online church. It's just not. And I really do think you're actually hurting yourself. And so, Sam, it makes total sense to me that you're saying the views are down 90%. That totally makes sense because most of the church is back in the church. My concern is that that remaining 10%, that's people checking out your church and they're not liking what they're seeing. And it's a total reverse mentality. This is not people who are invested that are okay with the lesser quality because that's their church. These are people who have no impression yet of who you are, and now you're setting it, and it's exponentially better in the room. So let's make a accurate sneak peek and then hide the link for the live feed and only tell the members where that thing is. That's I think that's my suggestion. Here, if you go to our website this week, we are live streaming, but that's the least of my worries at this point. I've got lots of things in a new church to work through, but I think I'm going to go that direction eventually.
Yeah, I really like pre-producing services, and it also another good reason to do it is so. And I've had plenty of people say, "Hey, we checked you out online. We got that the services were pre-produced, but we watched a handful of sermons just to see what you believe. Like, how do you
Mm,
preach? What do you believe? Where are you coming
yeah.
from? What's your perspective? You conservative? You liberal? Do
Hmm.
you have a high view of the Bible or not?" So I've had plenty of people that go back and watch 5, 10, 15 sermons selectively when they're looking for a church, just because these are churched people, mature believers who know what they're looking for. So they
Right.
listen. So I'm not saying do away with your digital ministry. Goodness, you need to keep doing it for that reason.
Mm,
But yeah, if I'm checking you out and you that's all you've got is a live feed and it's bad, man, I may not come visit. Like you said,
yeah.
I might not show up. So
I probably wouldn't. Yeah, there's a
probably
church in Dallas, large, wealthy, very, very, very wealthy church. And I was following their pastor, and he shared some clip on Instagram. And I looked at it and I was like, man, that is it looks like he's in a gym somewhere. And it was really kind of poor quality. And and so I was like, I wonder it's just because the church is so wealthy and they do things very well that I thought, what is that? And where are they at? Is this some sort of like Kiwanis meeting or something that we're recording here? And so I actually went over to their website, and that is their live feed. He clipped out their live feed. And so then I Googled pictures of their sanctuary and stuff. And the reason it looked like it was in a gym was because it was zoomed in on sort of this bland backdrop. In the room, you can see the beauty of this big sanctuary, stained glass, and just all the beauty of it. But there's this small thing that kind of draws your attention to the pastor. But on the feed, all you could see was this just pipe and drape and this guy standing in front of pipe and drape. And in the room, it's fine. Online, I got the complete opposite impression of what that church was. So I don't know, new eyes with that, but seems to
there
be
you
all our
go.
time today, though.
That's about it. That's all the time that we have for today's episode. Your live stream is probably hurting more than helping, is the
Probably.
lesson there. But there is someone who can help you. Maybe not with your live stream, but with just about anything else that can help you. And that is Upward Sports.
Right.
Upward Sports can be that bridge that gets you into your community. They're the world's largest Christian youth sports organization. They come alongside your church. They can put together a program for you, whatever church size you are, whatever you have, whether it be a gym, a field, or a parking lot. They've got a sports program for you. People love sports. They can get your people interacting with neighborhood families. And that's what I love about Upward Sports, whether it be basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, softball. They can do league camp offerings. They really do it all. You need to go check them out. And they're offering a $500 sports startup grant to our listeners. So this is something that you definitely want to take advantage of. Go to upward.org/church answers. Again, upward.org/church answers. Tell them we sent you and get that $500 startup grant just for you.
That's right. Thank you, Upward and Church Teams, for sponsoring the show. And thank you for listening to our show. We hope that it's an encouraging and thought provoking conversation. I'm Josh. That's Sam. We'll catch you next week.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org/churchanswers.